Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Today been a stressful day. You know, today might be one of the. It was one of the toughest days in recent history, man. You know, Giannis is leaving the Bucks, man, and it's hurt me, man. Listen, if I was a Bucks fan back when they was giving tickets away for free. You know what I'm saying? I always been a Steve Nash fan, so if you knew me back then, I always cop for Steve Nash, and I kept me an Andrew Bogut jersey. You know what I'm saying? Cause I love the Bucks, and I used to love Steve Nash. That was my favorite player, man. And I remember, man, going to my first Bucks game. These is purple and green days. You know what I'm saying? That's still to this day. That's my favorite colorway, purple and green, man. Um, Man, it's a feeling like none other. Part of why I love Milwaukee so much is because I love our sports culture, man. I love our teams, man. You know what I mean? And it's tough. But I ain't gonna lie. The city of Milwaukee is in some trouble losing Giannis. People want us to go through this rebuild phase, and I don't think that's smart because politically, right? Watch everybody out there like, how the hell is Jamiroquan turning basketball into politics? Let me break this down for you. Giannis built an entire arena, boss. Like, you know what I'm saying? Pfizer Forum stands today because of Giannis, man. And the promise that our sports culture in Milwaukee was going all the way up. He brings revenue to the city of Milwaukee. Game day in Milwaukee is special for a lot of the restaurants and the bars surrounding Pfizer Forum. Now, look, I've been to a couple Bucks games this year. Them tickets is real affordable, Very affordable. Why? Because ain't nobody going to the game. Why? Because we losing and Giannis ain't been playing. So what you think gonna happen when Giannis is gone? See, people was talking about this like it was some just sports decision. It's about to shape the entire city of Milwaukee. But we can get into that another time, man. I got a lot of stuff to talk about today. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna lie. I interviewed Josh Schoeman. He was running for governor. And before the interview could even come out, my boy dropped out. So I just want to say, I love you, Josh. I love you. You ran a great campaign. You are a good man. Let me look over here. Josh, I love you, man. And I appreciate you for coming to highlight us, man. I'm going to just let everybody out there know, man, Josh was making a really, really big push to ingratiate himself in black communities and in areas in Milwaukee. You know what I mean? And he is from Washington County. He not far, so he was really connected to the soil, man, to the people. And although Tom Tiffany is, he is our candidate for governor, man, Josh, man, you have my vote, bro. You did. No disrespect to Tom, but I love Josh Schoeman, bro. And so look, it's no Josh Schoeman today. It's just your boy. You know what I'm saying? And that's okay, cause I got something special for the people, man. All right, we're gonna dig into it, man. I got big news coming out of MPS. It's been a mess over there. I'm finna dig into it, right? We're gonna dig into the missed potential system, formerly known as the Milwaukee Public School system. All right, we're gonna get into it real good. Also, got a good message. Now that we know exactly who our gubernatorial candidate is on the Republican side, it's heating up on the Democratic side. They just had a forum. I want to talk about some of those comments made as well. But I want to talk about how the Republican Party can better ingratiate themselves with black people, right? How they can make a better space and a more welcoming space for what has become a very growing population in their voter pool. We're going to get into that as well. But first, there is a huge cash cow in the city. These boys got a lot of money. I ain't going to lie. If it wasn't clear about where they got the money from, I might have been thinking that they was peddling that shit. I ain't gonna lie. I'm talking about MPS. MPS recently closed. Well, they recently decided that they were going to create a plan to close 6 schools, right? They downsized and they're closing schools, which is crazy because maybe a little, close to a decade ago, they was fighting choice and charter schools from buying a lot of these buildings that was already abandoned. It's funny how it all comes back around, isn't it? MPS is declining in enrollment, so a lot of the schools that were full, they are no longer full. They don't fill up to capacity, and so they're closing a lot of these schools. But the bigger issue is that they couldn't afford to keep these schools open either. I think a lot of this is a money problem. Yes, the schools are not full and to capacity, okay? That's reasonable. But it's the reason why they cannot afford to fix up and upkeep these older buildings. And it's because they keep telling us that they broke. Well, look, man. I'm telling you right now that they either very, very poor at managing funds. Somebody is stealing over there. Somebody is tapping the pockets of the taxpayer. Or both. But it ain't that they ain't got no money. Because they have a lot of money. Oh, they've been receiving a lot of money. MPS, man, they've been getting bankrolled, man. Them some balling motherfuckers. MPS from 2020 until 2022 received almost $1 billion in ESSER funds. What's ESSER? Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief, ESSER. Given to them in 3 waves of COVID bills, right? Now, I know some of y'all know during COVID, we all got checks, but you know who really got the checks? Not us. We're going to talk about that next week. Where did all that COVID money go? Tune in next week to find out where all your money went. But back to the story at hand, they got over almost $1 billion, $700 million MPS received from 2020 to 2022. This is before they come to you and ask you for more money in the referendum. This is before they tell teachers that they can't pay the inflationary raises. This is before we start shutting down schools because we can't pay to keep them open. You made almost $1 billion. A billy. A biller. You made all them bobs. And now you broke. Well, let's chop it up. Almost 40% of the money that they received in ESSER funds, remember, elementary and secondary school relief funding. It's a long day. Giannis is leaving. They got almost $1 billion out of that. They took a lot of that money and they spent it. Almost 45% of that money got spent on long-term positions and salaries. Now, it sounds good, all right? We pay teachers. We hire more teachers. Let me tell you why this is a bad idea. It's the same thing that Governor Evers does that puts Wisconsin in a really bad hole. He mortgages our future for our today. And that's exactly what MPS did. They took all of that money, $700 million, and they did a lot of long-term investing. The problem is when you invest that money long-term, you know you're not getting it back. COVID was not supposed to be the norm. It was a tragedy. It happened, messed up. But COVID was not supposed to be this never-ending experience. Society was going to open back up, and the government, the well was going to run dry. At some point, they needed more money coming into the system. Of course, you open the government back up. Especially at that time, you're talking about an inflationary crisis. All while we print this money, by the way. Different conversation. I'll stick to the topic. We was never going to get no more ESSER relief money. That was it. There was never going to be any more ESSER money coming in. You was never going to touch $1 billion in 2 years, MPS. You was not going to do that again off the humbug. So what happens when you spend 41% of $1 billion on spending that is never ending? You run out of money and you got to go get more money. We could have took that money. We could have gave temporary one-time bonuses to teachers for all of the distraction that COVID was, or maybe even in our attempt to bring them back to work, which public schools really failed to do with that online learning. You could have bonused them and encouraged them to come back to work. You could have invested that money into your school, paying for things to entice students to come back to school as you deal with chronic absence. When you don't even know where half of your students are, maybe you could have invested in more infrastructure for the school to challenge them, to focus them, to make them interested in learning again. What do? We just hire more people. Okay, we hire more people. Did we get a better quality of education? No. It's not like we went out and hired Professor X to teach science classes. You know what I'm saying? The kids are failing. 5% of black fourth graders in Milwaukee are proficient in reading. 5% of black fourth graders in Milwaukee are proficient in reading. So it's not like you went out and got the best of the best. But you got $1 billion. How you touch almost a B and your district still starving? Let's chop the fable some more. $610 million out of almost $1 billion went to costs that were never going to expire. And what do school districts do when they need more money? They go to your county board and they get these referendums put on the ballot. So then, fast forward, we end up with this huge referendum, $250 million, over $200 million that MPS is citing that they need. Now, at the time, Aisha Carr, who was sitting on the school board, raised serious questions about this money, citing that she was concerned that we were going to get more money to MPS when we haven't properly allocated and budgeted what was already given. And what did they do? Give her boots. They got her gone. Why? They said that she did not live in the district that she represented. All right. Clearly true, because convicted. She stepped down. Okay. A lot of y'all break the law. Let's keep it a bean. You know what I'm saying? A lot of y'all out there doing stuff y'all not supposed to be doing in office. I know. You know what I'm saying? Look, some of y'all don't live where y'all say y'all live at, and y'all running them districts. A lot of Democrats, that's the thing, man. It's probably Republicans too, but I can only speak about the Mill. And I know for a fact, in the Mill, it's a lot of that going on. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to just keep it a buck. That wasn't because she would live somewhere else. They would have protected her and held it down had she not gone and raised all of that hell about the $250 million that they was asking for. But she really wanted to do her job. She wanted to represent the people. So what does she do? She starts to blow whistles. She holds town halls educating people about the dangers of this bad budgeting and encouraging people against the referendum. The referendum passes, but not before they get rid of Aisha Carr. Got her gone. Now, they came to you for $250 million after they made over $700 million from COVID, and they told you they needed more money. The $250 million was supposed to help solve all of the problems that already existed, a lot of holes and gaps. The other mind-boggling thing about a lot of this is that MPS wasn't even reporting what they were spending money on for years. As they received $1 billion, multiple years passed before they did their report into the state. So people didn't even know what they were spending none of this money on. So even the $250 million that they got in the referendum was withheld until they was able to send their reports in. So not only did your school system, the missed potential school system, not only did they make over $1 billion over the last 5 years, but they also did a really poor job at letting the taxpayers know how that money got spent, which is probably how we get to today. Fast forward to today, after over $1 billion, they made $1 billion MPS did. How do you, come on, man, how you spend a B that fast? You know what I'm saying? Is they stealing the money or not? I'm not gonna lie. If I got $1 billion 2 years ago and I don't have it today, just know it's a lot of taxes I didn't pay. It's probably a lot of motherfuckers I owe. Where's the money at, MPS? Governor Evers signed this 400-year tax increase, increased spending for public education more than any other governor. He basically put us in a hole to do so, all in the name of education. But in reality, the education funding has increased every year. Education funding increased every year under Scott Walker. Every single year. Historically, too. Like, it wasn't small increases. Like, these were nice, substantial increases to public school spending. They didn't give a shit about none of that. It's all about, let's get rid of school choice. Well, one thing about these charter schools and these choice schools is that they're not testing as poorly or poorly at all compared to MPS. So while you all worried about the voucher program and losing your students, maybe you should focus on the quality of education you provide these students so you can keep them in MPS. I would never put my kid in MPS. I got to pay $10,000 a year right now for tuition because I could never put my kid in MPS. Ever. And what you got to realize is it's not the fact that it's a public school. It's the fact that your school is more focused on being a political juggernaut than it is the quality of your kids' education. Instead of talking about how we spent all of this money on MPS and we've gotten nothing from it, your public school teachers are organizing ICE walkouts and ICE protests. You think that's your kids doing that? You think your kids sat around the table and said, you know what, I'm tired of seeing this on the news. Think about this. You think the kids that don't do nothing but sit on their phones and worry about themselves thought to themselves, you know what, I really care about what's happening in Minneapolis. No, they didn't. And if they did, it's because they didn't want to be in that motherfucker for the day. I'm going to tell you what's going on in your schools because I actually experienced this. Let's add on to why MPS is so bad. Let's take a pause real quick from the $1 billion that MPS made, all right? I went to an MPS school, James Madison Academic Campus. Shout out to all my JMAC homies, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to lie. I hated it at that motherfucker, man. I couldn't stand going to school. Mostly because of where I went to school at. You know what I'm saying? And I met some real cool people over there. I found out later a lot of those guys I was cool with was just some dusty motherfuckers I couldn't trust, man. You know what I'm saying? I could tell where life was going for them. Never mind. You gotta be careful when you got a mic. You might start telling the truth about some things that you don't have to tell the truth about. But shout out to JMac. I hated going there. And I remember when I was in school, Act 10 was going on. Now, for those not familiar with Act 10, and I guess I said it in the Maria Lazar podcast. Shout out to Maria Lazar, man. Shout out to Maria Lazar. But Act 10 basically said if you didn't want to pay into a union, you didn't have to. It gave you an option. Right? Union dues are not tax deductible. It's more money that comes out of your pocket to go essentially to just a political juggernaut, because that truly is what the unions are. It's political juggernauts, just like your public school systems. Which works perfect for the conversation we're having right now, because those same union members came into the schools and they encouraged students to leave. They told the students, my teacher told me. I'm telling y'all what the teacher told me. If you want to walk out, you can. Everybody can go home. We out of here. The next day, it ain't no school. The next day, in the middle of the week, the teachers say, we ain't coming to work. And they go strike outside of Skywalker grandma's house and shit. They all at the Capitol. They arms is up, signs is up. It's so many teachers, so many union workers outside of the Capitol. This is a historical moment in Wisconsin because it shaped the political landscape and it saved Wisconsin a lot of money. So shout out to Act 10. And that's probably why we should be working harder for Maria Lazar instead of just copping the L, because you're probably finna lose it if we don't win. But that's why we finna win. Anyways, your teachers came back to school the next day after the protest, after we lose an entire day of learning. I mean, as kids, we was probably happy that we didn't have to go to school that day. Of course, you know what I'm saying? I didn't like going to school. I was happy. I was very ecstatic. And when we got back to school the next day, it was like it didn't end. Our teachers had become celebrities, and they were so proud of themselves. They couldn't help themselves but to tell us all about it. Right? And we as kids, we saw some of they fat asses on TV. So we like, oh, yo, we saw you on TV, Miss Patchell. But I'm not going to lie. What was happening was some foul stuff. I remember going to citizenship class the day after the protest, the day after the teacher strike. My citizenship teacher spent a good 10 minutes at the top of the class to show us her fat ass on the news protesting in front of Skywalker grandma's house. Yo, I'm not gonna lie. I thought that was the dumbest shit ever. You know what I'm saying? Great lesson in the grassroots, all right? But I don't want to see footage of you outside of this dude mom crib. You know what I'm saying? Why you weren't at the Capitol? Why you antagonizing this man's family? I thought that was foul. But they were celebrating it, and instead of teaching us, they were indoctrinating us. They was telling us how we should feel. They was telling us that Act 10 was going to take away from our education. That's what the teacher said. And one of y'all JMac motherfuckers tell me I'm wrong. Our teacher said that Act 10 was going to diminish the quality of our education, but all it did was diminish the power of the unions, which is what they was really mad about. They power to collectively bargain and increase the cost of public service. Had nothing to do with the quality of our education. If anything, the quality of our teachers might have a lot more to do with the quality of our education. I'll leave that to be interpreted how you would like. So rewind. Your school spent $1 billion, and only 5% of black fourth graders in Milwaukee can read, and only 31% of students in public schools across the entire state of Wisconsin can read. But they're walking out of schools. It's the teachers. Your public schools have become political juggernauts. And as they put the education side of their jobs to the back burners for the civic duty of their job as American citizens, so does the quality of your children's education go. It is on the back burner. Where's the money? Instead of asking about where the money is, we do things like complain about what's going on in Washington, D.C., what's going on in Minnesota. But what about your crib? MPS is always pointing at where the disparities are. Oh, what about the revenue share? The state is getting this everywhere else, but Milwaukee gets this. Has nothing to do with a lot of these things. What it has something to do with is your teachers would rather be political heroes than educators. Your public school board members somehow, some way, let $1 billion and said nothing about it until somebody said something about it. Enrollment is declining dramatically. And it's not declining because of the choice voucher. No. Because people still desire to put their kids in schools like King. There are schools in the MPS system that tend to continuously perform well. But a majority of them do not. The difference is everybody can't go to King. Everybody can't go to the school that you require excellence to be in. So the kids that fall everywhere else that need that one-on-one time with their teacher, that need that extra care from their educator, that need those materials and those resources provided to them through the tax dollars that they have clearly misplaced and mismanaged, those kids continue to get the poor side of the education that MPS offers. You spent $610 million on costs that don't expire for what at the time was a school district suffering from 5% decline in enrollment. And worse than that, record numbers of chronic absence. They couldn't find the kids. The kids were not coming back to school after online schooling and COVID. There's no truancy officers. There's no infrastructure put in place for how we're going to bring these kids back. It's unfortunate, man. It's so unfortunate. Because at the same time all of this is going on, people like Francesca Hong, who is running for governor as a Democrat, Francesca Hong gets her ugly ass up on stage and says that we need to abolish the voucher program. Now, Francesca Hong, I need you to do something for me. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. Shh. Be quiet. Listen to me. You people have to just stop saying things, okay? Why would you get rid of the program that's offering all of these black children a better education at a time when only 5% of black fourth graders can read, and you are running for governor on taking that away from all of them? Shut the fuck up. You should stop. You should be quiet. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. And I'm not gonna lie, it's probably a whole lot of other Democrat candidates running for governor who feel the same way. But people like Francesca Hong should realize that if you get rid of the voucher program, then you are forcing hundreds and hundreds of students back into a failing system. Why would you force all of these kids back into a system that just said that they had to close schools? Dummy. Why would you send all of these kids to a school district that's hemorrhaging cash? Dummy. Is it the school choice voucher program that's the reason why only 31% of Wisconsin children can read? Dummy. Was you went to MPS, didn't you? You went to a public school, you stupid ass mother. That's probably why. That's probably why you say stupid things like this now. This is why 2026 is going to be so important. And 2027 and 2028 is going to be huge. I advise all of y'all to get registered to vote, check in, lock in. Y'all think these guys have your best interests at heart? I don't think so. What I think y'all should do, people probably finna be mad at this. I don't know. I don't care. What I think everybody in Milwaukee should do is go find where Tom Tiffany is at and go tell him what you would like to see from a Republican. Tell him why you are disconnected. Ask him ask him what he gonna do differently. I would advise y'all to do that. I'm not gonna lie. Find a way to ingratiate yourself with a Republican. We need to start building the bridge together. We finna get into that too, because it's not all the way black people fault why y'all don't want to go over there, because I be over there. Let me tell you. You know, I be having to deal with some things, man. I be dealing with some things, man. Y'all be looking at me. Y'all be like, man, Jamiroquan a Republican, man. He over there doing all that shit. Listen, I'm a fair guy. I realize there's problems that exist in my party. I know. And sometimes it's even hard to say that it's my party because they do some real ignorant shit, man. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, it's some racist people over here. I ain't gonna say that the Republican Party is racist. I don't think all Republicans are racist, but it's definitely some racist motherfuckers here. It's like it's racist people over there, but we ain't even talking about them because y'all already know. I think the Democratic Party is just processing new Jim Crow laws underneath our noses, and they all look like favors, so we don't say shit. But I'm telling y'all, we got to start thinking about the betterment of us. Why do I say that? Because immigration is not our problem. Actually, immigration is our demise. Immigration is our demise. If more immigrants come into the country, undocumented, illegally, black people lose. Black people are very low when it comes to home ownership. Do you know who dominates above us? Latinos. Income gaps, we dead last. You know who above us? Latinos. Now, I'm not saying that all Latinos is immigrants because I know that's not true. I'm just saying, in a capitalistic world, right? Because look, I love capitalism, but you gotta acknowledge the hoes. In a capitalistic world, am I going to pay the person that I have to pay $25 an hour, or am I going to pay the person that I can pay $10 an hour to? And we're going to keep getting beat every time in this round. It's not our problem. But we continue to make it our problem because it's part of the platform that a lot of black people go and they vote for. It's not our problem. I won't hang here because I know I already had this conversation in the pilot episode. But Republicans need to make a better home for black people to come in. Tom Tiffany, one thing I liked about Josh Schoeman, and I hope Tom Tiffany don't think I just hate him, because I don't dislike Tom. I really like Tom Tiffany. I love Tom Tiffany, but I adore Josh Schoeman as a candidate for governor. But I really like Josh Schoeman because he was very personable. And it's one thing to be someone who represents your district from D.C., but it's another thing for someone who represents their district from D.C. and is all the way on the other side of the state. And that's Tom Tiffany, man. Tom Tiffany does not, his house district is not near Milwaukee. Josh Schoeman was the county executive for Washington County, which is like a 10-minute drive north of Milwaukee. There's a lot of disconnect, probably from his experience of Wisconsin to the experience in the southeast part of Wisconsin. And I think that it would behoove him to spend a decent amount of time in southeast Wisconsin. Hopefully he does. History can tell us different about Republican candidates, but Donald Trump came to Milwaukee a lot. He got shot and then came like a couple days later to the convention. So, you know, maybe we get different out of that. I'm hoping that we do. Tom Tiffany isn't as close to Milwaukee, but he's also the position that he's been in as a U.S. House member has left him very focused on the problems that Wisconsinites deal with as they relate to the federal government, but maybe not as much as it relates to local government. And that's something that he'll have to translate to the people, but also the Republican platform as a whole has to be willing to message to black people. Republicans don't do the best job at this. I won't even say the best job. They don't do it at all. Donald Trump is so successful when it comes to this because he talks to every man. And even though he doesn't always talk to every man how they would want to be talked to, the people who get it, they get it. And the people who don't, well, they vote for who they vote for no matter what. But that strategy can't just sit with Donald Trump. It has to transcend throughout the entire Republican Party. Now, as a conservative who hails from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That's where I hail, baby. I've heard many Republicans say some of the dumbest shit ever about Milwaukee. It's a loss. We'll never win it. I don't like when people say that. Actually, I encourage people to stop telling me that. I might smack you in the mouth. Don't tell that. Don't say that to me. If you don't vote and you think Milwaukee is a loss already every time, then don't talk to me. I might smack you in the mouth. And if you disrespect Scott Walker, I don't want to hear no Walker slander ever, ever. I witnessed all that. I lived it. The man transformed to Wisconsin. Okay, I smack you in the mouth. You say something crazy about S-Dub. You heard me? But I ain't gonna lie, man. A lot of these people think that Milwaukee is a waste of their time and their money. A lot of Republicans feel that way. And I'm telling y'all Republicans out there right now, it's time to chop that shit up. It's a loss because y'all let it be a loss every single time. Y'all do the bare minimum here, and then y'all expect for it to translate into something positive for y'all. Don't come to the city one or two times to tell me how amazing Trump ideas are, how amazing Republicans are at keeping their promise, because don't nobody in Milwaukee care about that. Black swing voters and independents and people who are disassociated from the political reality as a whole, these voters are issue line voters. They want to know, what have you done for me lately? And you can explain everything that Donald Trump did, but Tom Tiffany ain't got no history as a legislator in Wisconsin. He's never been governor. He's never been, well, I'm sorry. He hasn't had a history of being a legislator in Milwaukee, in the southeastern part of Wisconsin. People really don't know who he is and what he's represented for Wisconsin over, over almost a decade. Probably more. I ain't got the research to say it, so just leave some room for error for your boy. Giannis just left. You know what I'm saying? It's been a long day, man. And getting rid of Giannis, I'm putting everything that I mess up on the fact that Giannis is leaving Milwaukee, man. I don't care what happens because I'm sad about that shit. All right. Tom Tiffany and the Republican Party have to do a better job outreaching the black communities. I'm not going to lie. Hilario, Hilario is the chairman of Milwaukee County. Some of y'all know that because I kind of went off on a long tangent about it on the last podcast that I think. Hilario, listen, brother. I was talking about everybody. And I heard you say this, that I called you about that. They came with a podcast and say that you fronting. Somebody had already told me that, and I called you to confirm it. Hilario, I love you, man. I love you to death, bro. Hilario makes an attempt at doing some of this sometimes, but because he only can do so much, right? They only got so much money apparently, whatever, right? And so they timing not always the best, right? And for them, it's wherever the investment is best spent. But when you got an office surrounding one of the most impoverished areas, surrounded by one of the most impoverished areas in the city, I think the best thing to do is to find opportunities and ways to connect with those voters every single time you can, anytime, for any reason, even if it's just to say hello, and they don't do it. The Republican Party does not properly engage black communities. And a lot of white people, if you ever been in the Fox 6 comments, and look, I do media for this play, for Milwaukee Mainstay. Shout out to the Milwaukee Mainstay, man. They signed the boy, man. I signed the paperwork. I sent it back like that. And I'm a part of the Milwaukee Mainstay team, man. I do media content for them. Follow the Milwaukee Mainstay on all your social media to stay in tune with the news that your boy is delivering. You know what I'm saying? But I'm here too. You can find me in so many places, man. I'm blowing up. If you check the comment section, I'll be seeing the comment section under these videos that the Mainstay posted me. And it's some of the most aggressive, macro-aggressive, flat-out racist shit you could ever read. It's like the Fox 6 comments, but dialed down much, much more, because them comments is flagrant. You know what I'm saying? But the white conservative that would agree with everything I'm saying politically really does look at black people as thugs sometimes. They do. Right? They only viewpoint of us is when they see us on the news, mug shotted up or walking through a courtroom. They don't get to come. They don't come into the city enough to meet the Sean Wilsons and the Shannon Rosses and the Gabbies and the Von Mayses. They don't get to come and see what black excellence really looks like in the city of Milwaukee, man. They're my guys, man. It's a lot of great energy out here, and we not all violent and temperamental. Well, look, I'm a little, I can be temperamental, you know what I'm saying? Because I ain't gonna lie. You say something crazy, yeah, you know what I'm saying? My days of just letting people talk however they want to talk, them is done, because can't nobody cut my water off. I'm a little different right now, you know what I'm saying? I'm not even in my prime yet, you know, but we not all temperamental and angry. We ain't finna run off just punching people in the face and running your pockets and all that, man. We don't even do all that. It's a lot of people really just trying to make a positive way, to provide for their family and their communities. People have good ideas about how to impact the community positively, but when we speak on these things, you know, one of them cracker motherfuckers went in the comments and on the video that the mainstay posted to me, and said, well, look, why don't you and your people in your society, it's your people. I wanted to jump through the phone and wring his neck, man. And that's how conservatives view black people. And Republicans, man, I'm not going to lie, y'all got to knock that shit off. The Democrats is racist too, but Joe Biden ass know how to hide it. Joe Biden know how to hide it. If he can be president and hide his racism, then damn it, you can too. Tuck that shit for the greater good of the policies that we'll get out of it. Because at the end of the day, man, the Republican Party belongs to black people. Y'all really just visitors in this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? The Republican Party was created. It was made for our freedom. And then you see the things that go on in this party where, you know, it's pushback about our culture and how proud we are to be black. They look at that as being woke now. Let me say they, because I'm talking to Republicans right now. I don't want to say they. I ain't talking to people who look like me. I'm talking to y'all, all right? Republicans, man, I be seeing what y'all be saying about Juneteenth, and I don't like that shit. I'm going to keep it a bean. I saw my boy Dan O'Donnell say, well, you know, why would we have a separate Independence Day for black people and we got a 4th of July just right after that? Okay. I understand Dan O'Donnell, and I love Dan O'Donnell. That's my man. I don't know him personally, but I'm a listener, and I F's with you, bro. But it's not about the Independence Day of the 4th of July and the Independence Day of Juneteenth. You missing the point there, right? The fact of the matter is we didn't all get to celebrate the same level of independence. Even as the 4th of July existed, there was still a lot of oppression, whether that be segregation or slavery, that took place in America. Now, I'm not finna sit here and victimize us, because I know that we have since long been risen above some of those downfalls and those setbacks. But what I will say is Juneteenth is an amazing opportunity to celebrate the resilience of the idea that is America. For whatever you say about the reason why slavery was abolished, whether it was Abe Lincoln looking at the money that they could make or whatever, I don't care. I've heard many of different black scholars explain why slavery really ended and why Republicans really did it. I don't want to highlight that moment. What I want to highlight is that the Constitution said one thing, but it was not demonstrated that way. And that was that every man was equal and free. And at the time, it wasn't. And then the Civil War happened, and then to some extent we were, because you still have the post-civil laws in the South where, you know, in certain places in the South, if you still worked on a plantation, you were still considered a slave. That was legal. You know what I'm saying? They still treated you as such as well. You know, it was places that if you stepped foot on the plantation, you couldn't leave for a certain amount of time. You had to work for a certain amount of time. The South had a lot of crazy laws in place post-slavery, but y'all should check that out on your own time. Keep it to the policy right now. I guess that is policy, huh? Keep it on topic. The Civil War, America fought in the Civil War. We raised the American flag on our side in the Civil War. But Confederates in the South probably get more love all over the country than the remembrance of America's victory in the Civil War period, which has always been odd to me. So yeah, we should celebrate Juneteenth. We should. We should celebrate those men going free. The very last set of slaves set free in Texas. That should be celebrated. I see white conservatives wearing sombreros and eating tacos on Cinco de Mayo. Don't nobody ever call that woke. I see conservatives still say, Happy Columbus Day. Boss, why do you still say, look at me, come here. I'm going to call this the Francesca Horn cam from now on. Francesca Horn got to shut up. But anyways, come here. Why do you still say Happy Columbus Day? Is it because of your pride? You're proud American, right? Being Columbus doesn't make you America. Columbus wasn't even technically American. Is that white pride? Is it so much so that you feel offended that the world has told you that saying Columbus Day is offensive? That you feel offended now? But see, I don't have a problem with people saying Happy Columbus Day. I don't care. As long as I still don't got to go to work on that day. I'm cool with Happy Columbus Day. What I'm mad at is that every other culture can get a pass in celebrating and being proud of their day. Cinco de Mayo is celebrated multiculturally across all political parties. St. Patrick's Day, celebrated multiculturally across all political parties. Columbus Day, celebrated mostly by conservatives. Indigenous People Day, celebrated by everybody. But Juneteenth is woke. You can't go to the museums and park for free and all that on MLK Day and on Juneteenth Day because Donald Trump said that he deaded that. I thought that was a bad move. Why did he dead that? MLK had some bad press recently. Maybe that's what it is. I always thought that's why the MLK assassination docs came out. Because all it really was a big spotlight on how much pussy Martin Luther King was getting. And he was running through glasses of milk, boy. Martin Luther King was drinking milk like he had an infinite amount of Oreos, boy. They trying to do him in. They trying to defame Martin Luther King Day. Anything black gotta go. When it comes to conservatives, they look at it as being woke. And it's disappointing. Now, I give the Republican Party this. The Republican Party of Milwaukee has that table set up at Juneteenth faithfully every year to my knowledge. I actually saw them a couple years ago. They was all out there. It was all white people and Orlando Owens. If you know Orlando Owens, never mind. I'm working on my soul, so I will not tell that joke. All right? But they are out there on Juneteenth. The problem is it's just them. And I know a lot of conservatives, they scared to come to Milwaukee. Come to Juneteenth, man. Conservatives in Waukesha, conservatives in Racine, conservatives in Green Bay. Come on, man. Come to Juneteenth in Milwaukee. Is it Juneteenth in Waukesha? I don't know. Somebody tell me if y'all celebrating it out there. I don't think so. If you're a conservative and you live in Milwaukee, West Allis, Brookfield, any of that, man, come to Juneteenth, man. Ain't nobody gonna get killed at Juneteenth. Come to Juneteenth, man. You're gonna have a lot of fun. You eat some good food. You know what I'm saying? You have a lot of fun. You listening to music. You can dance. I know y'all be feeling left out, man. Especially the young conservative women. Y'all will have a good time at Juneteenth. Come shake some of that white wing ass at Juneteenth. We'd love to have you. And then come shake. And look, politicians, Tom Tiffany, man, you got to come walk through Juneteenth. You got to come walk through the city of Milwaukee to see this beauty. How else can conservatives make a better home for black people to make them feel more welcome? Well, one thing, stop walking up to black people and asking them to answer your questions about the whole entire black community. It's a macroaggression. I had one of these conservatives. I was at a Bob Denal event. Shout out to Bob Denal. Very prominent conservative in the Milwaukee area. Great dude. At least I think so. Shout out to Bob Denal. But Bob Denal, I went to one of his events one time, man. And this lady walked up to me and asked me, why do all black people like menthol so much? And I'm looking at this lady as someone who does not smoke cigarettes, wondering, well, what made her think that I knew why black people smoke menthol? I don't know. I don't know. Why would you ask me that? Stop telling black people that come to conservative events that they wanted the good ones. That's not okay. Because one of the good what? One of the good what? Exactly. No, I don't think the whole Republican Party is racist. I just think that some of y'all have never had a conversation with a black man that wasn't already in the Republican Party. And I'm not going to lie. If you are basing your opinions of black people and your conversations with black people, with all black people, off of the conversations that you had with Orlando Owens, then you lost already. I want to say so many things right now, but I cannot because I want to go to heaven. Oh my gosh. Listen. Stop saying very rude things to black people when you see them. You have to make a welcoming space for them to even want to be there. I used to work for Americans for Prosperity, and I would blend this room together, and I'll never forget bringing, although independent, very liberal thinking people to events who were coming to really understand where we was coming from. I bridged people together. My entire time in politics, I wanted black people to understand conservative policies, and I wanted conservatives to understand the needs, the true needs of black people, the concerns of black people. So, of course, I did a lot to bring people together. It was never about having a room full of conservatives and a room full of people who already agree with me, because I'm not really doing anything or accomplishing anything if the whole room that I'm bringing in is the same room of people that already feel me. They already support me. They already knock doors. It doesn't matter that they're here. It does. But I don't really get to move the needle and make a large enough impact when it's just the same people over and over again. We gotta grow this thing, right? Jesus and his disciples went town to town. And then when they rejected him, they went back again and made friends with them guys, right? Shook hands with them guys, to understand them guys. And that's how I always viewed a lot of this. I'll never forget those people coming to my event and being asked some of the craziest questions. People thought they took it as an opportunity to have a combative conversation. They looked at it as a challenge. Yo, there goes some black people who don't all the way agree with Republicans. Well, let's have a debate. No. No, you don't want to have a debate. You want to understand them and you want them to understand you. And at the end of that conversation, if y'all understand each other even a little bit more, it's a W. And next time you see that person, you can ask them how they felt about the things that you said last time. Maybe their stance changed. And when I have conversations with Democrats all the time. And I'm not gonna lie, a lot of them be misinformed. You know what I'm saying? They recite the stuff that they see on the news. I saw one girl the other day called Trump a fascist, and I know she don't know what a fascist is. I know for a fact that woman does not know what a fascist is. They're all getting their information from these news sources that are already false. There's the people who really care about the community that they'll do their due diligence to listen. And so when I talk to Democrats and they wrong, I can politely say, hey, I understand where you're coming from and I can understand your concern about this, but X, Y, Z, here goes some facts. And why don't you think about it in this way instead of in this way? And we might still agree to disagree. But I try to be as close and tight-knit to that person after that conversation. I want to kick it with that person too. Emilio, I don't know if Emilio is a socialist or a Democrat, but I know Emilio do not fuck with Republicans. Emilio out in Milwaukee, he run Milwaukee Turners, and I love Emilio, man. I love Emilio. Emilio is such a cool dude. And I disagree with a lot of his stuff politically, but I love him to death, bro. When I call Emilio about something or I need some feedback or answer to something, man, Emilio pick up the phone and he gonna get right back to me. That's why I became a member of the Turners. That's why I paid my membership dues to the Turners. Because of people like Emilio. And I don't look at Emilio as just a liberal out of Milwaukee. I don't view him as that. I look at him as a man, as a human being. And then we can chop the politics after I introduce myself to you as a man, as a human being. I want to love you first. And then we can educate each other later, because it's not a one-side thing. Just because Republicans have a lot of answers correct don't mean that we have all of the right answers. And it's a lot of things on the other side of the aisle that make sense, but we block ourselves off from it because of our own stubborn opinions about liberal or more middle aisle policy. Like expungement reform. Expungement reform is not soft on crime. But we still continue to promote it as such, and I disagree. So listen, man, I would encourage as 2026 is deepened and we get further and further into this season, I would encourage Republicans to do a much better job at creating a more welcoming space for Black people, right? Let Hilario and the good people of Milwaukee, man, get them some money, get them some opportunity to open up that office to everybody, right? And don't be scared, because I know a lot of y'all be scared. Republicans be scared. I ain't gonna lie. Still to this day, I make a lot of money because Republicans is really scared to go door knocking in Milwaukee, okay? And you might be saying, Jamiroquan, why would you tell them that you're making money going places they don't want to go? Because they still not going to go. Because they still not going to go. They're going to go find somebody else that could go in there and do it like me again. And, it's the cycle's going to continue. All right? But I'm not going to lie. The number of Black people voting Republican continue to increase. In Milwaukee, in Wisconsin. Isn't that something that you think you should invest your time and resource in? And investigating and growing and nurturing a little bit? How many times have y'all gone back to those doors that y'all knocked in 2024, since 2024, to say what up? Keep them informed about the policies. Let them know what's really going on in the community. Let them know what Trump was doing in D.C. that impacts their lives comfortably. Y'all wasn't outside doing that. I know y'all wasn't doing that, because I was outside. I was knocking doors. I was in the... What's up? I'm all good. Are you good? I'm good, thank you. Okay. Corey, ladies and gentlemen, is here. But they were not doing that. They were not creating the infrastructure that they needed and the foundation that they needed to retain any of those voters. And so people like Maria Lazar have to start over fresh, and people like Tom Tiffany have to start over fresh. But we can do different things. We can run this a lot differently. We have to change our mentality and our mindset. There's nothing wrong with people being proud about being black. There's nothing wrong with you being proud about being white. We said Black Lives Matter, and y'all turned around and said White Lives Matter. Y'all been proud of being white. And I don't think no black people should jack y'all for doing that. But I think the bigger conversation is that if we stop looking at each other for you being white or for me being black, if we view each other like human beings, the people in the Fox 6 comments will stop being so damn racist. Shout out to my homies on the north side making that money unemployed. Shout out to my homegirls in the studio with no cosmetology license doing people hair. Stop telling people to come with their hair washed already, because that's illegal, boss. Okay? And if you're going to break the law once, don't break the law twice. And start paying that We Energy bill. You should start paying that We Energy bill, because you know spring is on the way and the referendum is almost over. And if you don't start paying it now, you're going to find yourself door dashing for like 3 days straight, 10 hours a day, trying to get them a little minimum payment for your payment plan. You know what I'm saying? Let's stop living in poverty like that, man. Just pay that shit right now. You heard me? My name is Jamiroquan Kittler, a.k.a. POLITIC PAPI. This is politics as usual. Yeah. Ooh.